Hello, my name is Shadia Musa and welcome to the Bowie Youth Showcase. Today we have Gerron Levi. She is a former Maryland House delegate who will be giving her opinion on a hot topic that impacts all residents in Prince George's County. Also, later on, Dr. Brenda Bellamy will speak with Beri and Ndifon on various health issues that affect our youth. So sit back, take notes, and enjoy. Welcome back. Our guest today is Gerron Levi, a former Maryland House delegate who previously ran for county executive. Ms. Levi will be addressing the topic of stopping slots in our county. Welcome, Ms. Levi.
It's a pleasure to be here.
It's a pleasure having you. Ms. Levi, for our viewers who may be unfamiliar with the topic, will you tell us about the debate to bring slot machines to Prince George's County?
Yes, earlier this year, in August, the Maryland General Assembly, the state legislature, convened a special session, and they have placed a question on the ballot, on the presidential election ballot in November, that voters statewide will be voting on, question 7, on whether to allow an expansion of gambling in our state to include a new casino or slots parlor in Prince George's County.
Right, that's very interesting. Well, I know that you've expressed your opinion on bringing slots to Prince George's County, but can you tell us some of the biggest facts that you haven't been seen displayed in the media?
Well, really, I think what frequently happens in the debate around gambling is people tend to count what they deem the benefits of it. But so little is given to the cost, the high cost to our community, to the families in our community. A few years back, the Prince George's Business Roundtable did a study on allowing slots in Prince George's County and also Baltimore City. And what they found is that the cost of doing that far exceeded any benefits we would get out of it. Such as creating, 3,800 to 20,000 new problem and pathological gamblers in our area. So what does that mean on an everyday basis for our community? Let me give you one little startling fact. In the summer of 2010, at just one casino alone, there were 6 documented instances of parents who left their children in the car outside of a casino while they went in to gamble. You're talking about a 24-hour casino in the middle of a community comprised of families with loose rules around alcohol or free alcohol, and it really will transform our community and have a number of long-term impacts that I don't think people are fully comprehending with the limited debate that we're having.
All right, well, now researching slots and studying slots, what are some alarming facts that you have found specifically?
I've looked at communities all across the country. I mean, if you look at Detroit, you look at New Atlantic City, you look at Las Vegas, there are, first of all, the gambling industry across the country is really suffering losses right now. MGM, for example, the casino that the operator that is most talked about in terms of National Harbor, lost $145 million in the second quarter of this year. Detroit, teetering on the edge of bankruptcy. None of their schools come close to the quality of schools and education we offer here in the state of Maryland. I think there's a lot of deception that is built into the case that is made for, expanding slot parlors and gaming. But what people need to understand, this is a predatory industry. And there are a lot of costs that will come to our community of having mothers, fathers, residents of the community going to a casino after work, for example, and gambling the mortgage away, or gambling the rent money away. You will see that impact on the ground, and we don't fully appreciate what that impact will look like, but it will transform the face of our community.
All right, now what would you say to someone who thinks that bringing a casino to Prince George's County will bring jobs?
Well, first of all, I always say this: there is honor in all work, okay? So that it is not about jobs per se, but you can speak to the quality of the jobs. You know, I recently looked at the website for Maryland Live and the website for the Hollywood Casino in Perryville. And I mean, it's just a fact. You know, a third or a half of the jobs are part-time jobs. These are not livable jobs. These are not jobs on which you can sustain a family. For example, on the Maryland Live website, they had 23 jobs in food service listed. You know, bus boys, bussers, barbacks, and the like. 13 of them were part-time jobs. And I don't think people understand that. So what this means is that we're putting a tremendous amount of public investment, tax dollars in particular. We're fixing roads. We're putting all of this investment in bringing in a predatory industry to be our largest private employer. And these are really low-wage jobs. Forbes magazine, in fact, has called them among the 25 worst-paying jobs in America. So.
Right, well, how would you say that bringing a casino would specifically affect the youth of the county? I know it's said that bringing a casino would help education, help schools, but what's your opinion on that?
Well, there are a couple of things. First of all, I think people need to understand that we have 3 casinos open right now, and just so people understand, it's really a myth around it's some great help to education. In fact, in the state, as of June 30th, we have spent out about $267 million buying slot machines and leasing slot machines, and we've taken in $200 million. We're on the negative side in terms of the state. And every dollar that even goes into, say, the Education Trust Fund, there's been no increase in education spending as a result of that, as a result of bringing slot parlors to the state. But in terms of the youth, one of the things that is included in the gambling legislation is a requirement that the state's Department of Health and Mental Hygiene review the impact of gambling on our community. And one thing that they found in the summer of last year is, just as a baseline, 1 in 30 Maryland adults are problem or pathological gamblers as of June of last year. And those residents who are between the ages of 18 to 29 have a higher risk of falling into the category of problem or pathological gamblers, including young African American men and young Hispanic men. Those are the most at-risk population, according to the Maryland Department of Health and Mental Hygiene. So wow. It has a very real impact on the young and the youth in our community.
So what you're saying is basically if we brought a casino, it wouldn't be beneficial for the youth?
No, it wouldn't be beneficial for the youth, and it really sets the bar very low.
Okay. Well, I know that you have a petition out, so can you tell us a little bit about that petition?
Well, a few things. First of all, I would urge all of your listeners to vote no on question 7. That is the question that will appear on the ballot. But through much of the summer, we have been collecting signatures at change.org /stop slots. So if you go up to the change.org site and you put in Stop Slots Prince George's, our petition will come up. We have close to approaching 800 signatures so far. We also have a Facebook page. Stop Slots Prince George's. People can like the page. Those are a couple of ways that they can get active, and they can just, communicate with many of us there.
Right. All right. Well, can you just overall give us a general view on your position on slots, just to finish this out?
Yeah. Well, I'm opposed. I think I encourage people, if they go to the petition site, they'll see the top 10 reasons why I think it's a bad idea for our county. And I'll leave everyone with a couple of other important key points. The lottery was often pitched as a big boon for education as well. Prince George's County pours more into the lottery than any other jurisdiction in the state, led by Temple Hills and Capitol Heights. And we get roughly a nickel back on every dollar we put in. So that just brings it home to what it really means in terms of what we get back from these type of enterprises. Capitol Heights and Temple Hills also lead many of the negative stats in our county. Severe foreclosure hotspots, the body count, homicide, and all of that. My point is this: I'm not blaming it all on the lottery or gambling, but what I'm saying is that when you take that much disposable household income out of a community, pour it into a sinkhole that has very little upside benefit, you're going to see the impact on the ground.
Right. Well, thank you so much for being here. Thank you so much for all of your insight. It was very interesting. Okay. All right, so we'll be right back with Beri and Ndifon and Dr. Brenda Bellamy. We here at Bowie Youth Showcase would like to send our congratulations to one of our previous hosts, Kiah Victoria, who recently released her first EP titled Look Up. She has been studying at New York University while appearing on NBC's The Voice and catching the attention of the Clive Davis Institute of Recorded Music. We wish her all the best as she continues to follow her dreams. At the end of today's Bowie Youth Showcase, we will show her one of her music videos for her recent single, Rooftop.
Welcome back. My name is Beri and Ndifon. We have with us Dr. Brenda Pettus Bellamy, partner at Clark and Pettus Bellamy Pediatrics in Bowie. Welcome to the show. How are you?
Thank you. I'm fine.
Now, I know you completed your undergraduate career at Georgia Southern University and you completed medical school at Howard University. What sparked your interest in medicine to begin with, and more specifically in your specialization, which is pediatrics?
Well, I always go back to when I was 7 years old. My mom died from complications from asthma, and I told my dad as a little 7-year-old that I wanted to be a doctor because I didn't want any other kids to lose their mom, and that's, you know, in a 7-year-old's mind. But like most kids, I wanted to be a teacher and a hairdresser and some other things. And then finally, by high school, and I took my first biology class. I really liked science, and my biology teacher was a really good mentor and told me, yeah, you should do this. So then that's when I really decided, yeah, this is what I want to do. Pediatrics stuck out because I was always a teenager in the neighborhood that didn't mind the little kids. I was always babysitting or braiding their hair or jumping rope with them, and I always liked kids. I loved their innocence.
Describe a typical day for me at the practice. What's most rewarding for you working with your demographic?
Well, I'll start with the typical day, because in pediatrics you see kids from a few days old in the office up to 18. That's when I stop. Some pediatricians go longer, but I stop at 18 and finishing high school. A lot of what we do is well child care, checkups, immunizations, and then we always have kids who are in there because they're sick. So my day is pretty much divided into well child care and sick child care, from the tiny little infants all the way up to the teenagers. What's most rewarding is just being a part of these children's lives. Your pediatricians is almost like being part of their family, because you get to share in so many things with these families. And I think that's what's the most rewarding, to just be a little part in that child's life.
That sounds very enriching. Now, you just mentioned that a lot of what you do in your practice is actually preventive care, and in the medical community there's always talk about the importance of preventative measures. How critical are vaccinations and immunizations, as you mentioned, to keeping children, adolescents, and young adults like myself healthy?
Very critical. There's so many diseases that can be prevented with vaccination, and not only is it smart, it's cost efficient. It's a whole lot cheaper to give someone a chickenpox shot than to have that child out of school for 2 weeks and the parents home and out of work for 2 weeks, and or other even more deadly diseases that can have children end up in the hospital. Rotavirus, common cause of diarrhea. Kids are in the emergency room getting IV fluids or hospitalized. Or meningitis, which can kill you within hours. So from diseases that are a nuisance to diseases that are lethal, it's critical and very important in all the age groups, because we vaccinate from as young as birth with the hepatitis vaccine to our adolescents with the meningitis vaccine, tetanus boosters, and HPV vaccine. So we run the whole age group with vaccines. Flu shots every year.
In your experience, which immunizations and vaccinations are most often overlooked by families, and why?
Well, part of it is the schools help us out. Honestly, I think some kids would never get vaccinated if the schools didn't require it. So the vaccines from 0 to that 4 to 6 year old age group they get right before they go to school, most kids are compliant with those because you have to have those to start school. It's later that parents sometimes drop the ball. Now, we're available in the office all the time, but a lot of times kids don't come in after that. They may not get an annual checkup. And the schools don't often backtrack to make those older children vaccines required. So those are the ones that they miss out on more often than the early childhood vaccines. I think it's just timing.
Right. Well, you emphasize the importance of cultivating relationships with your parents. Now, what advice would you give to young parents who are in the process of selecting a pediatrician for their kids?
Well, some people interview. I don't think I don't advertise. I did in the very beginning. I think I got one patient from a Yellow Pages ad. So most people, in my experience, don't choose their pediatricians from an advertisement. It's usually word of mouth. They'll have a family member or a friend that they trust and confide in. And that's how I get most of my referrals. A lot of first-time parents will come into the office to interview me. I'm in solo practice, and a solo practice, just me by myself, versus a big group practice. Their advantages and their disadvantages. And parents have to kind of figure out what works for them. A big practice, you're going to have probably more flexible hours. You'll have extended hours. You'll have weekend hours. You probably don't ever have to go to an emergency room because that practice is going to have extended hours and weekend hours because they have a lot of doctors or nurse practitioners or physician's assistants that help fill that gap. So they'll be more flexible with their hours. But the disadvantage of that is if you identify yourself with one doctor, you may not see that doctor every time. Right. Now, in my office, the advantage is you're going to see me every time. I'm going to know you pretty well. I'm going to know your children pretty well because you see me all the time. But it's just me, so I don't work 7 days a week, 24 hours a day. I have regular 9 to 5 hours and some Saturdays. So, and people have to figure out what's more important for them.
What factors influenced your decision to go into solo practice as opposed to becoming a group practitioner?
Well, I guess I should rephrase that. It's more, for me, what made me quit my job versus going to practice for myself. Because honestly, I didn't think I would ever quit a steady job to go into private practice because of the uncertainty of self-employment. But I had one job that was really, really busy, but super busy. And I left there for another job that wasn't quite as busy, but dare I say crazy. So I think that kind of influenced me into going into private practice. I think I almost had to be pushed into private practice because it's just a whole lot easier to go to work and let somebody else worry about hiring and firing and ordering supplies and paying rent. And I think there's just a time and a place for everything. And there was a time in my life, my children were older and an opportunity came available. One of my friends said that she thought we'd make a good match and I could share the office with her, and she knew at some point that I'd be able to build up and share in the expenses. And it was really a leap of faith that made me go into private practice. I did not join a group. I had worked for 2 different groups, but just the right opportunity and the right circumstances. And also, I had a group of patients that said that they would follow me, so I didn't have to really start from scratch, so that helped.
That's excellent. How challenging has it been over the course of your career to establish a work-life balance? Has it become easier now that you've gone into private practice and your children are grown?
It's definitely easier now. I think time and place for everything. When my children were small, it was so much easier to have a job. And if one of my children had a field trip, I just could take off and go hold their hand and go to the zoo. And that was just easier. And I didn't start my practice until my oldest was in college and my youngest was in middle school. So only having one child home to go pick up, and of course my husband's always been involved in this because that's another one of those things. If you're a woman in medicine and married, you better marry the right person because your life is not always predictable. You're going to have unpredictable hours and calls all through the night, and it's just not a 9 to 5. So there's just a time and a place for everything. I think women, we try to strike a balance. If you're mom, it doesn't matter what your job is, you're mom, and you're going to be home to do homework and make dinner and go to ball games, and it's important to have that balance. Your children need to grow up recognizing your face. Your career shouldn't be such that you come in the house and they don't know who you are. Right. You know, especially for mothers. I think it's equally as important for fathers, but I think mothers guilt trip ourselves more when we aren't there. And it's really important to be there for your children. My youngest is 20 now, and I think she was an infant yesterday. That time goes by so quickly, and you need to be able to be there to spend that time with your children while they're growing up. That's really important. And I think pediatrics is so female dominated too, till we tend to try to make that work.
Thank you so much for joining us, Dr. Pettus Bellamy. Really appreciate you taking time to be with us. It's always a pleasure to have you here.
You're welcome, and thank you.
We'd also like to thank our guest from earlier in the show, Ms. Gerron Levi, and of course a very special thank you to our viewers. As promised, here's the video for Kiah Victoria's newest single, Rooftop. See you next time.
Listen with me, imagine what you'd see if every child had a book to read. 'Cause every kid across the nation deserves a book to read, and we can make it happen right now.
No, I don't know what you've been told, but kids with books learn so much more. So the mission is for us to get a book to each and every child. So let's join hands, book people unite,
Unearth hidden passion.
Mom will have a good time.
Plant seeds of inspiration to motivate some magic.
To change the writing on the wall, writing on the wall.
Can make a difference. One book can inspire a child. One book can be the first little thing that helps to change a life.
Read to a child today and spark a lifetime of ambition.
What does it take to start something? A little time. A little exercise. A little laugh. A little adventure. A little help. That's all it takes to make a big impact.
As he always talks about, he had people in his life that really helped him out, and he wants to be that person in my life.
Just like he is, I was like that at 14. I know exactly what it means to be a 14-year-old guy.
I think that's why we have a good relationship.
He's fun and cool and nice.
You get to see like how personality develops.
Our friendship is good.
At Big Brothers Big Sisters, a little bit of your support can go a long way towards making matches like these happen. Start something today at bigbrothersbigsisters.org/startsomething.